Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only, Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here again without my co-host, the illustrious Patricia Kirkman, PK. But I have good news for everybody. PK is doing so much better after that terrible fall she took where she fractured her pelvis, and she is at home. She is doing extremely well, and she is hoping to join us for next week's show, and on we go with that. So she said to say hello to our wonderful audience on her behalf. She thanks you all for the well wishes you've been sending her, the prayers for healing, and she's very grateful to all of you. So thank you for reaching out to PK, and again, she is doing so much better, and I'm so happy to be able to say that. So anyhow, here we are. And I've got a great guest for you tonight. We are so lucky to have him here with us, Lyn Buchanan, remote viewer extraordinaire. We're going to get into his background. He's going to tell us all about remote viewing. Can you do it too? We're going to find out. We will tonight. But first, I wanted to go ahead and mention we've got some great stories on our Facebook page. Make sure you go ahead and give us a like and a follow there, and on Twitter. And guess what, everybody? I don't know if you remember the show, but I certainly do. Unsolved Mysteries. Great show. Robert Stack was the host. Unfortunately, he's not with us any longer to host the show, but the show's back. And it's being produced by the same people who gave us Stranger Things. And you can view it on Netflix. And right after we're done with the show tonight, I'm going to watch the first episode, which includes a story about UFOs in the Berkshires. That's where I am. So I can't wait to see this. I want to encourage all of you to take a look. I hear it's a really terrific show. And we have other stories there on the Facebook page about a dangerous UFO encounter and some other UFO encounters. There seem to be a lot more reports, as you all know, coming down the pike, more and more soft disclosure, more and more people coming forward. So take a look at that Facebook page and watch the videos, and you will learn some new things. I can guarantee you that. So tonight, we have with us Lyn Buchanan. Now, Lyn was one of the U.S. military's controlled remote viewers from 1984 to 1992. During that time, he worked first as a viewer and then as a database manager, trainer, training officer, property book officer, and upon retirement, he worked as a computer systems analyst at the Defense Intelligence Agency. He then began his own computer data analysis company called Problem Solutions Innovations. When the CIA declassified the existence of the military's remote viewing effort in 1994, it became public knowledge that Lyn had been the unit's trainer, and he was overwhelmed with applications for training. So Lyn started the Assigned Witness Program, which uses trained and experienced controlled remote viewers to do pro bono remote viewing work for police and other public service organizations. The original intent of the program was to help police find missing children. However, as cases met with success, the various departments and agencies began to enlist remote viewers in other projects. So presently, Problem Solutions Innovations continues to work with both public service agencies and the corporate world to train and make use of talented and qualified controlled remote viewers. Now, Lyn has written about all of his experiences and what he learned about the human mind in his book, The Seventh Sense. And he's with us tonight. Lyn, welcome to the show.
Boy, after all that, I think I'm going to be impressed with myself or something.
I'm impressed. We're all impressed with you. And what an exciting life you have led with all of these things. My goodness.
It has been interesting, yeah.
Oh, it's great. And I want to start at the beginning because I heard the story about your childhood and this exciting event that took place that kind of set the stage for everything that came after. Would you be willing to share that with us tonight?
Well, yeah, okay. The thing that happened was that you've heard of the poltergeist kids?
Yes.
That is a common phenomena among children, actually. The ones that get press is the ones who are, mentally unstable and all that. But it's a common thing among children, and it started happening with me. And I've always been very curious, and so I started playing with it to see what I could do with it. And I was learning how to do things with it on command, and no mental turmoil or anything like that. And my life parallels Charlie Brown's in many ways. I can't fly a kite. But also I was showing off for the cute little redheaded girl one day.
Uh-oh.
And she was very impressed and went home and told her father, the Pentecostal minister.
Uh-oh.
And
not good.
The next day I was going home from school and met him and three of his deacons just on the street. And he introduced himself and said that he was really interested in all this and he would love to see that. And so I showed him one little trick that I had learned, and immediately they had me down on the sidewalk, pushing my head into the pavement, just screaming for Satan to come out of me and leave this poor child alone, And I was 13 years old, and I was raised in the Deep South, Southern Baptist, and if the preacher said it, then God obviously said it. And so I had never even considered that this might be evil in any way. But he was telling me that I was going to hell and that this was all, from Satan and everything else. And so I spent the next 20 years, 30 years suppressing this, what I had learned. And sure enough, I had learned it well enough that any time I got angry, it would come out, and things would start happening, So I became one of those that had the emotional issues. And so anyway,
tell me again with what you did that demonstrated this, because I found that absolutely remarkable. That you used a metal plate, and can you explain to us what happened? Because I thought that was amazing.
The way this first evidenced itself, a bunch of the other kids and I were out throwing rocks against a big metal plate that was leaning up against a brick wall, and excuse me, and I threw a rock, and I heard in my mind the words, "Go through." And the rock went through the metal plate, didn't leave a hole, and hit the wall behind it. And all of us kids, ran over. We heard that hit the wall. We ran over and looked, and there was the rock laying on the ground between the wall and the metal plate. And it's one of those things that the kids get all excited about and all this. But I got interested, and that led to, I think I was 11 at the time, and that led to a year or so of trying to see how to make this work and see, and all that. And so I had developed this thing where I could take a pie plate, and put a rock on it, and get this little voice to say, go through. And when I did, the rock would fall through the metal plate and not leave a hole, but it would fall through the ground.
That's just amazing.
And, it wasn't a sleight of hand trick or anything else. It was what I had learned to do with the psychokinesis. And I didn't know at the time that it was psychokinesis. I just thought it was a really neat trick.
Very cool. Yes, yes. Now, you talk about this little voice, and I am so intrigued with that. Where do you think that came from? What part of you was talking to you?
I have since learned that it is just a function of your normal subconscious mind. When Hitler lost the war, all of the spoils were divided among Russia and the U.S. and France, England, and nobody wanted his Dr. Grunbaum project, which was psychic spying, except for Russia. Russia said, yeah, I'll take that. And in the late 60s and early 70s, we were losing our classified information like crazy. And they found out that the Russians had developed psychic spies. And that's where this project came from. Well, over in Germany in 82, I think it was late 82, an incident happened at the field station where I was, and it caused me to get flaming angry. And all of a sudden, all of the computers in the field station went down for a still classified amount of time. We didn't have any spying effort along the East German border.
Oh my
and so General Stubblebine, head of the Intelligence and Security Command, heard about it. He came and took me to D.C. to start a unit that would destroy enemy computers with hopefully the end goal of learning how to control enemy computers instead. And Congress said, no, we won't fund that. That's crazy. And so he took me out to the remote viewing unit, which was already in existence by that time, stuck me in there and said, told them, hey, he's your problem now, deal with it, and left. And it was one of the most fascinating things I had ever seen. During all of that time, after the U.S. found out about it, they had gone out to Stanford Research Institute that had done a fair and honest study of psychic ability and actually proved and documented, hey, it's real. It's not our imagination. It's actually real. And so, of course, then, like natural, they proved it was real. So what did the U.S. do? We classified it, used it for the military.
Right. That's right. Let's see if we can use it to our advantage. Well, and from what you were saying before, you really took to this. I mean, you just fit right in.
I really did. Yeah. It was so fascinating to me. I have never had a more interesting job in my life. Yeah, it was just it opened parts of me that had been suppressed and all that for 40, 50 years. I know one of the first days that I was there, Skip Atwater, whom you may know.
Yes, I do.
Took me over to the operations building, and he sat me down and he said, I want you to look around this room, look at the square around the ceiling, look at the trim around the floor and all that, and look at this room completely. And I did. I didn't know what he was talking about, you know. And finally, he said to me, listen, I want you to know that in this room, it's okay to be psychic. And it felt like a ton of weight had dropped off of my shoulders that I'd been carrying around for decades.
My goodness,
and,
what a healing.
It was freedom, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's just incredible. And you did so well with all of this that you actually became a trainer, right?
Yeah, I wound up when I retired, a little bit over 8 years later. I had become the unit's trainer. I'm heavy into computers, and so I was the database manager. We databased everything, and it is a scientific method. And I was one of the viewers, the database manager, and became the trainer. Yeah.
Gosh, how exciting for you. So after all this time of suppressing your talents, you were able to bring them out and put them to really good use in favor of our country, obviously, and trying to identify certain targets and things. And I know there's some things you probably still can't talk about that are classified, but please feel free to share what you can about your experiences with the remote viewing group.
Yeah, okay. Well, we had a lot of experiences, you know. We collected intelligence. Congress had been caught doing mind control experiments on the U.S. citizens back in the 60s. They weren't about to do that again. And so they forbid us to spy on U.S. citizens, to use this to spy on U.S. citizens. And they also forbid us to do what would be called active mental work. Everybody now says remote influencing. Now the Russians...
And what is that?
That's where you influence, using mental means, you influence people to do things or to think certain things and so on. And we were totally forbidden to do that. Now the Russians had been developing that, and they were calling it hypnosis at a distance.
Oh, wow.
And they were using it against U.S. presidents way back then. In fact, Jimmy Carter made a
Really?
trip to
He was
Russia.
A target for them.
Oh, yeah, an absolute target. After he came back from his trip to Russia, he was never able to make a presidential decision for the rest of his term in office.
Oh, my goodness.
Totally messed him up, yeah.
So they obviously knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew. Oh, yeah. They had been developing that since the end of World War II. Yeah.
Oh, boy. So we were a little bit behind with this kind of thing.
A lot behind, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're out ahead thanks to a man named Ingo Swann who worked with Stanford Research Institute and developed this protocol that you can learn, and it lets you have access to and control over your own psychic ability. Problem with most psychics is they have no control over it, and they wind up being kind of flighty, and their results are flighty and scatterbrained and all that. But Ingo developed this methodology that gives you absolute control over it.
Which is so helpful. I mean, as you talk about psychics and how it's hit or miss and also can be very nebulous responses. Oh, and yet with Ingo Swann, from what I understand, his method really helps psychics organize a process. And if they just follow the process, then they'll get good results. Is that how it works?
Yes, it is. And, it's a set of mental tools that you learn to use. And, for instance, a natural psychic will go in and try to get the target. In controlled remote viewing, you go in and the first thing you do is you say, what are we going to talk about today? And you zero in on a target that you don't know the answer, that you don't even know what it is. In fact, they found that if they tell you what the target is, it just pollutes you. And so we will go in and we will say to a controlled remote viewer, this is project 970405, question number 3, what's the answer? Hand them a pencil and a piece of paper and say, I'll be back in an hour, give me the answer, And
and it sounds near impossible, but it wasn't. It worked.
It actually works better that way. But the first step is you ask your subconscious mind, what are we talking about today? And it will tell you, oh, I don't know what the target is, but there's land and water and something man-made. And you say, okay, that's good. And you write that down. And then you say, now, let's focus on the water, okay? And you get its taste, its texture, its temperature, and all that. Once you've done that, you focus on the man-made. You get its colors, its sounds, its shapes, and all that. And that's into the second stage of it. Then you go into the later stages, and you say, okay, it made a sound. Let's focus on the sound to the exclusion of everything else. Oh, motor sounds, deep motor sounds, sounds like a truck, sounds like a bunch of trucks. Oh, and in doing this, you get finer and finer details about the target to the point where in 18 or 20 pages of work, you have thoroughly described that target as well as ground agent that they sent there to look at it.
Incredible. That's just amazing. And again, you're saying, now, let me ask you, do you think anybody can do this, or do you have to have a gift like you have to be able to accomplish this?
Everybody has the gift. One of the things that we have learned is that controlled remote viewing does not make you psychic in any way. It helps you bring out the psychic ability you already have. It's always been there. And most people are just amazed by the amount of psychic ability that gets uncovered within them. They never suspected they had that ability. But I'm not talented in any way that I know of. I'm just it's a normal human ability, and I was taught to use it.
Well, I agree with you that all of these things that some people call supernatural are natural.
Yeah,
that's
right. Yeah,
misclassified them for whatever reason. And there's a lot of reasons it's happened that way. But yes, and that's why I really like the way you present this, because it makes so much more sense. And certainly with Ingo Swann's work, this has become formatted. And actually, you are teaching this now online, right?
Yes, I am. I'm teaching the Ingo Swann methodology. Now, through the years, and, Ingo Swann's method went to the research, and they developed it further. They turned it over to the military, and we put it into actual operations in the real world. And so it has developed, beyond that, but always with Ingo involved in the development. And so what we teach now is the applications-oriented form of the Ingo Swann technique. Yeah.
And I just want people to know where to go, because I know so many people are interested in this, and the fact that you have these courses available now online, I think is tremendous. So where do people go to find this?
My website is crviewer.com, crviewer.com. And down at the bottom of the front page is a link to the online courses, and it's a link to videos that tell you what it is, what it isn't, warn you about, don't spend your money until you really know what you're doing and all this. And then after those videos, it gives you the opportunity to sign up. So I would highly recommend to everybody that if you want to learn remote viewing, look before you pay any money to anybody, me included, and find out that what you're getting is the real thing.
Exactly. As I mentioned,
there are a lot of fakes out there.
Yeah, there are. That's for
fakes.
sure.
Yeah,
and that's what you're right to certainly to suggest this to people to be cautious. But I'm very excited to try actually sign up for one of your workshops. I was looking at those videos today, and how exciting it is because, again, to have a format is so important. And I liked how you were describing it. So you get to actually learn the symbols, and you're teaching. Tell me if I've got this right. That you're actually teaching your subconscious a way to get the information to your conscious mind. Is that how this works?
That's how it works. And in the process, your subconscious is your inner child.
Mm-hmm.
In the process, what happens is you give your subconscious mind rights and responsibilities. And as a process, as you do the controlled remote viewing, your inner child tends to grow into an inner adult. And believe me, your subconscious mind is 100 times smarter than you are. It's 100 times faster than you are. And you wind up being friends with yourself, and you have a buddy with you that's smart, fast, and very capable. And much of the English One technique is actually sort of based on the martial arts.
Really?
Yeah, a martial artist. If you've seen the Karate Kid, how the sensei teaches it wax on, wipe off, and gets it to where it becomes a physical response that's automatic. And then all of a sudden, a roundhouse swing toward the kid, and the kid automatically blocks the swing.
Yes.
And we liken it to a natural psychic who has no training is like a natural person who is going to get hit with a roundhouse swing. You duck and you throw your arm up. But if you take the training and you learn the structure, that's when somebody makes a roundhouse swing at you. You throw your arm up in such a way as to overcome the person who's trying to attack you, protect yourself, and defeat them. And so that analogy goes over to the psychic world by, if you're a psychic and you get hit with a psychic impression, it's scrambled. You do the natural reaction to it. It's incoherent and all this. But if you get the training, that psychic impression comes in. You know exactly the moves and the tools and all to get the most out of it in an organized manner. And that's the difference. And the CRV is not psychic. It's just a methodology that helps you use what you already have.
Which is so valuable. I mean, this is something I think everybody should do because, who wouldn't want a superhero partner? And that is really what you're getting, right?
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. So I encourage everybody in our audience to take a look at Lyn's website, watch the 2 videos, see if either or both of the courses are for you. Like I said, I'm definitely signing up for at least one of them because I'm so fascinated by this, and I think it is extremely valuable. And the other thing that has impressed me so much about remote viewing is, as you know, I know Joe McMoneagle, and I've seen him in action, and the detail that the remote viewers come out with is mind-boggling to me. Watching this blew my mind. I was like, how can he get this kind of detail?
It's just the control of saying, okay, I know there's a whole target, but back on page 23, I heard a sound. Now then, I'm going to go find out about that sound and ignore the rest of the target. Here I am. I'm going to find out about the sound. And as you get more and more information, you get more and more details.
It is just incredible. It's so powerful. Now, is the remote viewing project, is this still underway with the government or not?
When you retire, they quit telling you secrets.
Oh,
that's one of my answers. The other answer is I'm not a spokesman for the U.S. military. You would have to call the U.S. military to find out. And
I got it.
So that's how I deflect that question.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for that answer.
Okay.
Now, you're now involved in several different projects, but I'm very interested to hear about finding missing children and also some of the other things that you have been asked to do. Can you share situations where your remote viewers have come to save the day, basically, for these missing kids and other people?
Sure, yeah. There's a commercial break coming up, isn't there?
Yeah, do you want me to run this now, and then we'll start with your experiences with remote viewers and missing children? I think this is a perfect time.
And have to stop right in the middle.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, that's perfect. So, yes, we are going to take a very short commercial break, everybody. So stay tuned. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. We are speaking with Lyn Buchanan. He's the author of The Seventh Sense, Remote Viewer Extraordinaire. We'll be right back.
Pure essential oils, specialized minerals, and a revolutionary anti-aging technology. Astridian combines the best of all scientifically proven ingredients in easy-to-use creams, lotions, and concentrated serums. Astridian's advanced line of products take your skin to a new level of being healthy and beautiful. We offer a variety of collections that address all your skin concerns. The Essential Anti-Aging Series treats and moisturizes your skin for a long-lasting, younger look. The Multivitamin Series promotes healthy skin with high-quality vitamins and minerals. The Sports Series restores skin from cellular damage and stress. Astridian also offers a revitalizing solution for hair and a professional series for doctors and medical spas. Visit astridian.love today and begin your new journey to healthy, beautiful, youthful skin. Astridian, beyond your expectations.
There are a lot of psychics out there. How do you decide which one is right for you? You look for someone who empowers you, who's practical and spiritually connected, who says, here are your opportunities, here are your challenges, and here's a way to deal with them, and then gives you your own toolbox to make your life everything you want it to be. Hi, I'm Corby Mitleid, and that's how I work with you. As a certified professional tarot reader, I've helped thousands of people for over 40 years through my toolbox. Cards, past life retrieval, numerology, spirit guide conferences, and mediumship. Whether it's career, relationships, finances, or your spiritual road, together we can replace your confusion with clarity. And you'll probably find a little laughter along the way. Visit me at CorbyMitleid.com to find out how to cross your bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. And tell me you found me at Supernatural Girls for a special gift with your reading. Corby Mitleid, the practical psychic for catching your tomorrows today. Find me at CorbyMitleid.com. That's CorbyMitleid.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records
only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are you getting screwed on your property taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you frustrated with endless mantras, affirmations, and processes that promise to align your life with your dreams, only to find yourself years later in the same space where you began? Do you feel like you must be doing something wrong because nothing seems to be working? Don't you just wish that someone could shift your consciousness for you and your life could align with your desires without all the effort? Well, your wish is about to come true. Hi, I'm Carrie Cannon, and I have a gift that allows me to align the consciousness of others to be in harmony with their dreams. The best part is, it requires no particular effort on your part. Upon listening to a consciousness alignment, people have reported instant energy shifts, financial windfalls, soulmate connections, healed relationships, physical healings, and more. To gain access to a free trial offer for my entire Manifesting Miracles library of consciousness alignments, go to commandmiracles.com now for details. Again, that's commandmiracles.com for information about our free trial offer. That's commandmiracles.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, here with a terrific guest tonight, Lyn Buchanan. He is a remote viewing expert. He's the author of The Seventh Sense. And we are going to be talking about now, Lyn, your experiences with remote viewers finding missing children and other things that have been going on that need an answer.
Yeah.
Please tell us all about this.
Well, first of all, I apologize for the interruption. I was kind of getting the vibe that you were getting edgy about the time there. So
that's perfectly fine. I was happy to take a break and then come back into this incredibly fascinating topic.
The working for the police is not always about missing children. Sometimes it's about, excuse me, excuse me. Sometimes it's about finding missing evidence. Sometimes it's about identifying a weapon type. Sometimes it's about identifying someone who may have been a witness to a crime but is perfectly innocent in and of themselves. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Coffee went down the wrong pipe. And
you need some water?
And, no, I'm fine here.
Okay.
And so when you work for the police, don't automatically assume it's crime and blood and guts and all that, because generally the police know all of that part about the crime. What they're after is details that they can't find, that their investigators can't find, and all that. And so many people are afraid of working for the police because they'll be exposed to all the blood and guts and violence mentally,
Yes, I've heard that before from a lot of psychics, that they won't do this kind of work for that reason.
Yeah. But actually, in actual practice, the police already know most of that stuff. What they want is, find the weapon. Describe the location of the weapon that was used. There's no blood and guts in that. You just describe the location.
Yes.
And things like that. Or describe a witness so that we can go find the witness and get an eyewitness account, and things like that. And so that's what you'll get most of the time when working with the police, once they understand what you do and they don't think it's all bugaboo and magic and everything else.
Right.
When they get serious about it, then they know how to use psychics. But generally you have to train them.
Right.
they're more superstitious than anybody. Yeah.
No kidding. That's too bad.
Yeah.
But again, what you're doing is based on science, and it's not the woo-woo stuff that some people may think it is. Far from it.
Yeah, it's far from it. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you were saying my talent and my ability. Many times an interviewer will ask me to give a demonstration and prove that it works. And I generally refuse to do it. I have learned the hard way from doing that and having success at it that people then think, oh, this guy is great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what I'm wanting to get people to understand. I want them to understand that they can do it. And so generally what I do these days, they'll ask me to give a demonstration, and I'll say, no, you give me one of your stage hands or something like that who has never had a psychic experience, give him to me for an hour, I'll teach him some of the rudiments of what to do, and then you put a picture in an envelope and have him describe it without ever knowing what it is. And it works.
That's
and
amazing.
The end result is that I can tell them that, see, this is a human thing. It's a normal human ability, and anybody can learn it.
That's what's great about all of this, is that, again, you've given forth, and you are giving forth in your courses a way of doing this, a format that is so powerful that anybody can do it. So
yeah.
It's tremendous. But when you do work for the police, I mean, you do, I'm sure, like most groups that do this kind of work, you wait for the police to come to you, right? The police
yes, I have never gone to a
it.
police department and said, I can solve your case or anything like that.
Right.
We worked for several government projects that dealt with the police. They learned, and so they started coming to me, and I said, if you don't like what I do, tell me. If you do like what I do, tell all your buddies.
Yeah.
And from that, we wound up at one point with more work than we were ever able to even address. We were just having to turn police departments away. Right now, one of my students is a private detective and uses 25 totally professionally trained controlled remote viewers as her investigators, and they're doing phenomenal work. Anytime I get a police case now, I pass it over to her, and she works with the police. Right now, I'm going on 81 years old.
Oh, nice.
I have all of this. Well, not nice. I would rather be a teenager again. But
Wouldn't
I
we
have
all?
of this understanding and experience about the controlled remote viewing, and so I have backed off of operations completely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching. I'm trying to get all of this written down into books, into information that can be shared, and so on. I finally realized maybe I'm not Clark Kent, maybe I'm not Superman, and maybe I am mortal after all. So,
well, you're doing great work still by, again, training people who are interested in this, giving them the education that we need so that we can learn to do this, and certainly writing more books. I'm all in favor of that because we'd all like to read what you have to say. So it's wonderful that you're still so active in this field. But as you look back on some of the cases that you were presented with, is there anything that stands out that you could share with us about the success of the remote viewers in finding either a witness or a missing person or missing child or something like that?
Oh, you mean for police cases?
Yeah, or any government cases also.
We have found locations where, bodies were. We have found locations where the police should go to intercept a criminal or to rescue a hostage person or somebody who's been abducted and all that, you know. And now we provide the information. We don't go out and fight criminals, you know.
Right.
We provide the information, and then it's up to the police department to use that information. Many times, if we have a police department where there's a captain or somebody or mayor or something like that who is just rabidly against the use of psychics, we turn our information in as an identified witness, and it goes in as an anonymous witness report, so that it gets investigated. And we definitely tell people, you know, the detectives and all that, that if this case goes to court, take the records we gave and make it anonymous witness, or just don't mention the fact that it was from remote viewing, because some lawyer will ridicule it to a jury and some criminal will go free, you know.
Yeah, that's not what you want, for sure.
So
yeah.
We're still in the dark ages on psychic functioning, but, you know, when this became declassified back in 93, 94, we were getting calls, and everybody was making jokes, and, you know, well, if you're psychic, why ain't you rich, and stuff like this, you know.
Right.
And people aren't joking about it anymore. People are now taking it seriously because they have found that it works. They have found that it is a serious scientific operation, and that, you know, that it actually works. And so people are now taking it seriously.
So people are and should. And as I heard from you in another interview, that this program with the U.S. military was funded annually. So you actually had to produce results, and you did. So this was funded for at least 20, is it 20 years?
Yeah, yeah, we had our annual dog and pony show.
What fun. Oh, boy. But that also speaks to the success of this remote viewing project within our government. That you did some amazing things that helped our country, and I remember you talking. Go ahead.
Many of those things will never be known. They will never be declassified. But we did some amazing things.
And one of the things I think you were able to talk about was identifying cargo on ships from flying overhead in planes. That was a fascinating story. What happened with that?
Oh, listen, that was fun. They took us down to Key West, Florida, and there is a Navy plane. I forget the signature of the assignment of it, but it's a hard wing plane, which means the wings don't flex, and so it's used for finding submarines, and they took us out on that. The wings don't flex, and so every time there's a small bump in the air, it feels like you just drove over a rock.
Uh-oh.
And
that doesn't feel
we
good.
flew all around the Gulf of Mexico, and we were looking out the window. We would fly past a ship, and there were three of us on the plane at the time. We would do a very quick session, find out if there was drugs on the ship, and if so, identified where on the ship the drugs were, and we would turn that over to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard would go out and seize drugs, and within, I think, a week's time, we were directly responsible for the seizure of over $80 billion in drugs.
Gosh, in 1 week. Oh, my God.
Yeah. But to the cartel, that was coffee money, And
wow.
They said that we were extremely useful at that. It was some of their largest seizures, but it wasn't even a drop in the bucket in the drug trade. I mean, the drugs are coming into the United States just by the boatload, all the time. So
yeah.
They wanted us to form a unit down there, but Congress would not fund that either. So
that's strange. You would think that that's something that should be funded automatically without even a thought, but who knows if they're even thinking.
Yeah, the minute somebody says the word psychic, all of a sudden politicians run for cover. Yeah.
That is such a shame, because we're missing out on much-needed talent here that could,
yes.
and as you proved, makes a huge difference in the safety of our citizens. So we're missing out by discounting these types of things, and it's just a terrible shame. And you're right, we still are in the dark ages. I'm seeing, and I'm sure you are too, some shifts and changes along the way, but it's not enough. And
yeah,
it would
you
be
know,
nice
this
to
is
be more accepted.
this is probably some of the work we did. I know one time I was just gretching and belly aching and all that because we had turned information into the Defense Intelligence Agency. It went up to the CIA and was thrown in the trash. And as a result, Saddam Hussein had made this big coup and all that. And I was belly aching about, what are we doing here? I mean, and all that. And Skip Atwater let me blow off steam, and he said, listen, the most important thing we're doing here is that we're here doing it. And, whether anybody pays attention to it or not, we're here developing this. We're here making it into a viable thing. And the most important thing we're doing is being here doing it. And
that's an interesting point.
And that stuck with me for a long time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I imagine the frustration level would get high when you see you have a chance as a group of very talented remote viewers to alter an event that could be very damaging, and they don't allow you to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't imagine your frustration over something like that.
Oh, yeah. When they driving Saddam Hussein, I'm getting a beep here. I may have to unplug and change phones in a second.
Oh, okay.
When they were driving Saddam Hussein out, and I had done a session, and I said, do not drive him north. He will burn those oil wells as he goes. Drive him to the west, out of the oil fields, and then drive him north. And they ignored that, and, you've seen the pictures of the oil fields.
Oh,
just,
yeah.
Hundreds of oil fields went up in flames, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Terrible. And again, this could have been prevented had they listened.
They had the information, and they ignored it, yeah. And
that's awful.
That gets frustrating, yeah.
Oh, terrible, terrible. Well, I have a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it, but I'm going to throw it out at you anyways. In remote viewing experiences, have you had any that you've done on remote viewing other planets or that involved extraterrestrials?
Yeah, just 1 second. Let me unplug from one phone and plug into the other.
Sure thing. If you get disconnected, then just call back in.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you did that perfectly.
Okay, good. Yeah. We were never officially tasked to do ET or other planet targets. There was only one time when we were tasked to do something like that, and it was more as a confirmation of something that had been done at Stanford. So we were trying to confirm their results. But as far as the government and the military was concerned, we were never officially tasked to do that. And but we did it. Sure, we did it. I mean, you have the ability to collect information like that. Yeah, you're going to do it, sure.
And there's been a lot said about life on the moon, life on Mars, and actually that we have people there. Did you come across anything like that?
Yeah, and on the moon, and the ET bases that are actually here on Earth. We did, intelligence collection on those, but not officially tasked.
Right,
So
I get it. So, was this? Did you investigate Antarctica?
I didn't. I was never involved in that. I think they did at some point, but I was never involved in it.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of talk, as I'm sure you've heard, about Antarctica and what's been going on down there. And but you're talking about there's other bases as well. That's not the only one.
No, it's not. There are many. The four that we focused mainly on was one in Alaska, one in Australia, one in Spain, and one in Zimbabwe. And we collected intelligence on what they're doing, what they're there for, what their purpose is, and the different activities going on and things like that. Yeah.
Gosh, how fascinating. Now, is that something that you guys can ever talk about in detail or not?
Well, yeah. In fact, Skip Atwater has, I think, put out the results of what we found, and basically the one in Alaska was a sort of a spying effort the ETs had on the Earth. The one in Australia was sort of the entry point for anybody coming from another planet would check in there first and then go out across the Earth. The one in Zimbabwe was a repair station, and I'm not sure what the one in the Pyrenees, up in the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain was about. I never worked that one personally.
Wow. I'm going to have to see if we can post some of what Skip wrote up about that. I know the audience would love to see it. And, you are also backing up some of what some of our other guests have shared about these bases and about life and people from here on the moon and on Mars, and maybe other places too, who knows. But it's really interesting. My goodness, we are... So many people are in the dark about this, but I know my audience isn't. They're right on top of it as much as we possibly can be.
Yeah, we're not alone. Yeah.
We sure aren't. We aren't. I don't know if we should be comforted by that or a little concerned about that. I'm not sure which way to go with some of these things. There's so many races involved that we've heard about, too, and with different agendas.
After I retired from the military, I was asked by a government agency to do a study on the actual documents of abductions that never made it into Blue Book or Grudge or any of that, and and so I did a study on that and came up with a report that I can talk about if you want to, but
yes, please.
But, that's not the everyday stuff that we do with remote viewing, and we work for businesses. The real controlled remote viewers almost always have non-disclosure agreements when you work for companies. And so you get on the internet and you'll hear a lot of people bragging about everything they did and all that. But the controlled remote viewers, you will not hear a lot about the controlled remote viewers or their work because we work for police departments, we have work for businesses, have non-disclosure agreements, have, basically kind of gag orders from police cases so that the information doesn't get, destroyed or whatever, or reviewed.
Yeah, or polluted in some way if they've got to go to court with this and they want to win the case. They obviously don't want all of this blasted all over the place, so they want it kept confidential, which makes complete sense. So
so even still, even though it's declassified, we still wind up working in secret and working in the background. Yeah, it's, I guess, the nature of the world today.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what about future viewing using remote viewing? How does that work well? Because it seems like there's possible timelines. And so when you go to look into the future, how do you deal with that?
One of the things we have an analogy that we use of called the Joe's Bar and Grill. If the police call and they say, tell me where the criminal will be at 9 o'clock tonight, and you do your session and you say he's going to be sitting at Joe's Bar and Grill eating supper. And so at 8:30 they go out and they hide in the bushes, and the criminal walks up at 8:45. They jump out, arrest him, and at 9 o'clock he's in jail.
Wow.
Well, you were wrong. They changed the future. And if you had predicted that at 9 o'clock he would be in jail, they would never have gone out to Joe's Bar and Grill, and he'd be sitting there eating supper.
Yeah.
So, so what we have found is that sort of like the weatherman who says, the weather next week is going to be such and such, we'll have an update tomorrow. If you give information to someone and they act on it, it can change the future. And so while you were right at the time of your viewing, the changed future may be different. Now, that has happened many times when there would be some drug interdiction. And I would say the drugs are coming across the border at this amount of time, this certain time in this certain place. And they go out and they, the drugs will be delivered to such and such a place. And they go out, and at the border crossing, they arrest them and seize the drugs. Well, it never gets delivered to where I said. And so a normal attitude towards psychic functioning is, oh, then you were wrong. Somebody acted on your information, and that changed the future. It's simple as that.
Exactly. And here's another one, and I'm sure, I know you've talked about this before, but I love your answers to this. Then how can you use this to win the lottery, make money, look at the stock market? And it can be used that way, kind of, right? The courses that I have on my website, one is called Associative Remote Viewing, and it is a specialty use of remote viewing for predicting the outcome of an event which will have a limited number of outcomes, such as what will be the lottery ball. Well, you've only got, what's the first number on the first lottery ball? You've got from 0 to 9. You don't have any other choices. Who's going to be the next president? Will the baby be a boy or a girl? Things like this, where there are a limited number of outcomes. Right. It teaches you how to predict the winner of the game, the number on the lottery ball, and other choices, other future events where there's a limited number. But it's a specialty use of remote viewing. And then the CRV course that I have is for the general remote viewing,
for all of the other applications.
Well, that's terrific. And both these courses are, again, on your website, which is crviewer.com, right? That's the
right,
website people can go to. Oh, this is so fascinating. I'm so enjoying this conversation, Lyn. I see we have a question from someone in the audience, so I'm going to pull them on the show. Hang on. Let me bring them on live. Hi, who's this?
Hi, Patricia. It's Hugh. What a wonderful guest you have here.
Oh, God, isn't Lyn the best? Thank you, Hugh, for calling in. Do you have a question for Lyn?
Yes, I just wanted to say, first of all, he gave the best explanation I've ever heard on the simplicity and what remote viewing is all about, with the inner self and the higher self, going inward and working with the higher self. And that really should open up the psychics in that way tremendously for his work in the future. And if you can share my number with him, I would love to speak with him. But I wanted to ask him, since I think he's back in the early 80s, if he interacted much with the Monroe Institute and Russell Targ, and also if he ever knew Harry Rositsky, who was high-level CIA.
I am good friends with Russ and with Hal Puthoff. And listen, I respect their work. You talk about an immaculate scientific researcher. You're talking, I mean, you look in the dictionary and it's got a picture of Russell Targ. He is fantastically squeaky clean researcher. I don't know many of the other people who were in the higher ups of the CIA and all that. You know, they were secretive even to us. I mean, they protect their identities pretty well, or did when they were active. And but yeah, the researchers out at SRI, fantastic researchers, really.
And the Monroe Institute, did you interact with that?
Oh yeah. In fact, before General Silverbein put me into the unit, he sent me to the Monroe Institute and pulled me out of Germany, where I was as a linguist and computer operator over there, and sent me to the Monroe Institute. And I thought, what a weird thing for the military to do. But I found it totally interesting, totally enlightening, educational beyond anything I had seen before in the field of how your mind works. I highly recommend the Monroe Institute to anybody. Yeah.
I thank you so much for your comments, and Patricia, for bringing me on. If you can share my number, I would really love to follow up with him a little bit because of the bizarre life experiences I've had in quantum entanglements, even going back to President Carter.
I will do that, and thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for your question.
Thank you, and my best to Patricia.
Thanks. I'll pass that on.
I'm so happy. I've been praying for her right along, too. But thank you once again, both of you, and God bless. And I just love what you're doing with crime, and I keep telling people there's karma attached to negative things that you do. So be careful with all the technologies in existence. You're going to get caught sooner or later.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
really.
One of the reasons we try to stay anonymous in crime cases is because we don't know if the cops are dirty and if, there's going to be some criminal element coming for us. So,
that is beautifully said. That I have experienced that. That's what I have to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, Lyn. Well, Q, I'm going to put you back on
Thank you again.
mute, and we'll finish off
you.
the show. Thanks, Q. I never thought of that, Lyn, but you bring up a really important issue.
Yeah, well, we've learned some hard lessons the hard way. Yeah.
Goodness. Now, I have another question for you. Are you familiar with the work of David Paulides. He is a retired police detective. He's been basically writing a lot about the people that go missing, and it's under very strange circumstances. Are you familiar with his work?
No, I haven't. What is the last name?
Paulides. It's Paulides. And his work is excellent. He's done a lot of research about these people that have gone missing in the national parks, mainly the parks, but there's other places too that he's done research. And he's had 2 movies come out about this where people just disappear, period. I mean, they're gone. They bring the tracking dogs out, and they can't find them. Yeah. So you've heard of this?
I know of the situation of people just flat out disappearing with no trace at all. I haven't heard of that particular person before. I'll look it up.
Yeah, please do, because I know he is not somebody that is willing to throw out theories about what's happening. He's really an investigator, and he's very good at what he does. And so he presents the facts. Here are the facts of the case, and he's done a lot of digging to try to get the facts of the case. The parks have refused to cooperate with him on a number of cases. They don't want the word out about what's going on. And he's persisted, but I think you'd find his work very interesting. And I know he's been asked, have you had any success working with psychics or remote viewers? And he said, so far, he has not had much success with this. Now, just my opinion, I think some of what's happening with these people is they are going off into other dimensions. I don't know if remote viewers can follow them there, but I don't see why not.
No, I don't see why not. But there are other causes as well, and yes, yeah, there are many different causes for people just sort of disappearing, blinking out of existence effectively, and all that. Yeah.
And what would those be? Because, I mean, I'm not talking about serial killers or anything like that, because he's following a pattern that when these people go missing, there's bad weather sets in, the dogs can't track these people. I mean, there's a whole bunch of criteria that he follows to identify these specific cases. But what else are you thinking of? It sounds like you've got some interesting information there.
Well, yeah. I generally don't talk about this area, but yeah, there are abductions in the classic, ET abductions. There are also abductions by humans, and many children, in fact, are abducted by humans who have become excellent at what they do. And I did a thing for a police department over in another country one time that was looking for the abducted children, and found that a military group was abducting these children and using them as slaves, sex slaves, and just servants. And
how horrible.
When the children got sick or ill, they would use them to train their new recruits for killing people, target practice. And
my God, how horrible.
And these kids were just disappearing, and this group had, actually honed their skills to where they could make a kid just disappear without a trace. So that exists.
And is that going on in this country too, Lyn, or is that just in Europe or other places?
It's going on to an extent in probably most of the countries around the world, but not the extent of that case, I would hope.
Yeah.
But also, there are people who have just devised a way to make themselves disappear and just, they want out of their lifestyle, and so they just disappear into the crowd and have found a way to not leave a trace, and they're still walking around healthy, probably, and having a better life than they had before. So there are many different cases why people disappear, and some mountain climbers drop into a crevasse and are never found again.
Oh yeah, that's easy to do, I think, with some of these excursions they take high into the mountains. But I will send you some information about this. You may find it very interesting in terms of the criteria he has identified and the people that have gone missing. A lot of them are of German heritage, which is odd. And there were 5 physicists that went missing. They were all German. So there's something else, I think, happening. I know people are trying to piece this together, but you may have a little more insight here that you could maybe break some of these cases. So I'll send this to you.
Well, yeah, they say the KGB in Russia, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The KGB is still going and stuff like that. During Adolf Hitler's time, Adolf Hitler, back in World War II, was deep into mysticism, and he had read the biblical account of the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve got kicked out not because of original sin. They got kicked out, the Bible says, lest they also eat of the tree of life and live forever. Well, Adolf Hitler wanted to live forever. I mean, he wanted to find the tree of life. And so in his military, he formed a unit called Dr. Grunbaum, which means, Grunbaum means green tree. And it was formed after the green tree of life of the Kabbalah, and they were studying Jewish mysticism. And at the end of the war, that military study and all is what went to Russia, and Russia developed it into psychic spying. But it remains in total secret in some parts of the German societies, and yeah, there's still research going on in some of those German societies about Hebrew mysticism, and and that will probably never end.
Very interesting. Well, yeah, and we're also familiar with Project Paperclip and how many Nazi scientists were brought over here.
Yeah.
So who knows what they're up to these days? But yeah, maybe I don't want to think about it. But but anyways, let me ask you a question again. Let's get back to your courses because I'm fascinated by this. It's actually being offered online. It's so tremendous. How long does it take somebody to learn these skills?
I hate to give you a vague answer here, but it depends on their self-discipline, their willingness to study, their willingness to practice, and also many other factors within their life. If they have been raised to absolutely strictly believe that if you do anything psychic, you're going to hell, it may take them years to completely overcome that. No matter how good they get at it, they'll always have that, but what if I go to hell,
Mm-hmm.
And
that fear.
To completely overcome that may take years. But to become proficient at the controlled remote viewing, we have the basic course, which builds you a firm foundation in the tools, mental tools and techniques. And we tell you that in the basic course, we give you targets that we already know what they are, So your purpose is not to learn about the target. Your purpose is to learn about yourself, and to learn the techniques to build a firm foundation. Then in the intermediate course, we start showing you how to use it for real-world techniques, for business, for personal improvement, and things like that. And then in the advanced course, we teach you really, really, really neat stuff. But but that's how it goes. And many people so far have spent a year or so in the basic course, and then interesting phenomenon, many people then drop out. They don't do it anymore. And maybe 5 or 6 years later, the phone rings, and they say, okay, I'm ready to get back into this now. And when that happens, I know that they're ready, they're really going to take off, and they're really going to do it. And for that reason, I tell everybody, when you sign up for my course, you don't pay another penny for that course, for that level of course. And like for the webinars that we have for the online courses, the rest of my life at least, you're welcome to it. You have access to all of the lessons from then on. I don't believe in annual fees. I don't believe in me charging people for consultation time. I'm old-timey Texan, and if somebody hires me to teach them remote viewing, I haven't earned my job, and I haven't done my job and earned my pay until they know remote viewing. And so somebody pays. I know many of the teachers will teach you the course and then charge you for consultation time and charge you for going over your sessions and grading them and all that. And that's not the way I was raised. So.
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity, and so basically what you're saying is you get to have the webinar to watch and then do the exercises, and depending on how disciplined you are, and if you don't have any past baggage with it, you can keep working on it and get some really good results. And then if you have questions, then you're available to answer those questions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and in fact, when I was having the classes here in my home, after a 3-day class, people were able to do the rudiments of describing pictures that were sealed in envelopes, and they had no idea what was in the envelope, and yet they would describe it and even sometimes make sketches that would replicate the picture itself. And so, you can learn to do this in 3 days.
Wow.
But to become a highly professional and highly capable of controlled remote viewer, that's where it depends on your ability to just self-discipline and practice.
Exactly. And what advice do you have for people that, like you, were told this is the work of the devil, you can't do this, and so they have this deep-seated fear they're going to be punished for it, and it's not in this life, in the afterlife? How do you help these people to get over that?
I have always said that everything I learned in life that helped me in life, I learned in Sunday school. And everything that has hurt me in life, I also learned in Sunday school. And at some point, you have to start thinking for yourself. Like I say, when that happened with me on the sidewalk there going home from school, I believed it because I had been taught that if the preacher says it, then God said it. And I have learned through the rest of my life that that's just not true.
Right. I mean, and what a traumatic event. I mean, it was a physical assault, as well as
yeah.
an emotional one. And it was terrible what they did out of their own fear and ignorance. But certainly, you're right, other people are walking around with the same belief, maybe not even knowing that it's affecting them as much as it is and preventing them from accessing their own intuition. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, what a terrible thing that was. And who knows why it really happened. But, yeah, so that's an important thing. So I know part of what you say is you have to be willing to encounter yourself when you learn this work. And
that's right. You have to learn how to think for yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and then to just get these blocks completely out of the way so that you're not encumbered by any wrong thinking or ignorant thinking or somebody else's thinking.
Yeah. And, you know, the remote viewing gives you an ability, it gives you sight in a world that's blind in that way. And so all of a sudden ethics become extremely important in what you do. And in my course, I teach ethics. You hurt others, you're hurting yourself. You help others, you help yourself. It's very important.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because this is an incredible ability and power in some ways. Like you said, in Russia, they've used it to influence people negatively, like poor Jimmy Carter. So it can be used. You get on somebody's frequency and start affecting the way they actually think. And in Russia, were they doing this as a group? Was that what they were doing? So it wasn't just one remote viewer doing this kind of influencing?
The Russians? Yeah, they had a unit. Yeah, they had a unit.
A whole unit doing that.
Several units, in fact. And they're really one of their most powerful units was the one that was doing what they called hypnosis at a distance, because they were targeting foreign leaders and just messing with their minds. Yeah.
That's really something. Gosh. So, but you're saying now we've caught up with what we're able to do, and so that's a good thing. And hopefully we found some ways to do self-protection for our leaders and other people.
Caught up is one thing. The more I learned about controlled remote viewing, the more I realized we're still in kindergarten. The human mind has so many capabilities that we've just barely scratched the surface. We're still learning.
Well, we are, but thanks to you, Lyn, we are actually able to do something about this and make some strides in the right direction. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing, that you've done, and the way that you're presenting this, giving us all an opportunity to learn, to really learn and master some of this. And like you said, become a friend to ourselves, to our own unconscious mind that has so much more information than we do consciously.
Thank you for letting me talk about it. I enjoy talking about it.
Oh, well, gosh, it was my pleasure having you on the show. And again, I can't thank you enough. And everybody, the name of Lyn's book is The Seventh Sense. You can get it on Amazon, I'm sure, and probably in your local bookstores as well. And the name of the website is crviewer.com. Make sure you go watch the videos on these courses. See if they're right for you, because they're very powerful courses. I can tell just by watching the videos, and I'm excited about it. I'm going to sign up for at least one of them and get started. I never thought I could do remote viewing, but Lyn, you're so encouraging. I've got to give it a try. So.
Oh yeah, you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, thank you again so very much, and everybody will be back next week with another exciting show. We've got Amelia Kincaid. She talks to the big cats and the elephants. She will be here with us next week. And until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.
thank you so much. I so appreciate it. It was a great show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. That was a good show. You're a good interviewer. I like that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it was my pleasure, and many blessings to you and to your wife. I hope everything works out just beautifully for her and for you.
We're accepting all prayers, yeah.
I will be praying for you both. So
thank you very much.
Absolutely. I will share this with Scooter so she can join in. And again, many blessings to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.